Chapter 11 Ollie Stewart's Goodbye. Beside the splendidly developed young woman, Ollie Stewart appeared but a weakling. His shoulders were too narrow and he stooped. His limbs were thin and his hair black and straight and his eyes dull. As young Matt stepped forward, Ollie dismounted quickly, but the big fellow was first at the brown pony's side, and Sammy's eyes shone with admiration, and, as the strong men felt their light, he was not at all sorry that he won that mule colt for Buck. "No," she said, declining his offered assistance. She did not wish to get down. They were going to the post office and would call for the meal on their way home. Young Matt lifted the sack of corn from Brownie's neck and carried it into the shed, and when he returned to the group, Ollie was saying in his thin voice, "In the circus I seen in the city there was a fellow that lifted a man, big as Jed here, clear above his head with one hand." Buck turned to his big friend. His look was met by a grim smile that just touched the corners of the lad's mouth, and there was a gleam in the blue eyes that betrayed the spirit within. The lean mountaineer again turned to the company, while the boy glanced at Sammy. The girl was watching him, and had caught the silent exchange between the two friends. "Aw, shucks," said Buck. Matt could do that easy. Try it, Matt. Give Jed a try here. Just try it once," called the chorus. This time the big fellow needed no urging. With Sammy looking on, he couldn't resist the opportunity which Ollie himself had presented, and without a word, but with a quick tightening of the lips, he stepped forward and caught Jed by the belt with his right hand, and then, before anyone could guess his purpose, he reached out with his other hand and grasped Ollie himself in the same manner. There was a short step forward and a quick upward swing, and the giant held a man in each hand, at a full arm's length above his head. Amid the shouts of the crowd, still holding them in, he walked deliberately to the blacksmith's shop and back, and then lowered them easily to their feet, and then turned to his engine. Ollie and Sammy rode away together, and up the green arched road, and the little company in the mill shed stood watching them. As the finely formed young woman and her inferior escort passed from sight, a tall mountaineer from the other side of Compton Ridge remarked, "I done heard Preachin' Bill say the other day that a mighty nigh all this here geawking and balking and kicking 'mongst the married folks comes because the teams ain't matched up right. Bill, he figures that God Almighty fixed it somehow so that the birds and the vermins don't make no mistakes, but left it plumb easy for men and women to make darn fools of themselves." Everyone grinned in appreciation, and another spoke up. "Well, according to that, I'll bet 4 bits if them two yonder ever do get into a double harness, there'll be pieces of the outfit strung from the parsons clean to the burying ground." When the laughter had subsided, Buck turned to see young Matt standing just outside the shed, doing something with the belt that led to the burr, but in reality looking up the creek. "Oh," ejected Buck under his breath, "what a team they'd make." "Who?" said Lem, who was standing nearby. "Them mule colts," returned Buck with a grin. "Aw, they sure will, Buck. There ain't two better in the country. They're a dead match. I'll come over and help you break 'em when they're big enough." And then he wondered why Buck swore with such evident delight. One by one the natives received their meal, and, singly or in groups of 2 or 3, were swallowed up by the great forest. Already the little valley was in the shadow of the mountain, though the sun still shone brightly on the tree-tops higher up, when Ollie and Sammy returned from the forks. Mr. Matthews had climbed the hill when the last grist was ground, leaving his son to cool down the engine and put things right about the mill. "Come on, Matt," said Ollie, as the big fella brought out the meal. "It's time you was going home." The young giant hung back, saying, "You folks better go on ahead. I'll get home all right." I didn't think nothing would get you, laughed Ollie. Come on, you might as well go along with us. The other muttered something about being in the way and started back into the shed. Hurry up, we're waiting, called Sammy. After this, there was nothing else for the young man to do but join them, and the three were soon making their way up the steep mountain road together. And for a time they talked of commonplace things, and then young Matt opened the subject that was all in their hearts. I reckon, Ollie, that this'll be the last time that you ever be climbing this old road. As he spoke, he was really thinking of the time to come when Sammy would climb the road for the last time as well. Yep, returned Stuart. I go tomorrow before the sun's up. The other continued. It'll sure be fine for you to live in the city and get your schooling and all that. Us folks here in the woods don't know nothing. We ain't got no chance to learn. You'll be forgetting us all mighty quick, I reckon, once you get living with your rich kin. Indeed I won't, returned Ollie warmly. Sammy and me was talking about that this very evening. We aim to always be coming back to Mutton Holler at least once a year and be just like the other folks, won't we, Sammy? The brown pony stepped on a loose stone and stumbled towards the man walking by his side, and the big fellow put out his hand instantly to the little horse's neck, and for an instant the girl's hand rested on the giant's shoulder, and her face was close to his. Then Brownie recovered his footing, and young Matt drew further away. Ollie continued. We aim to have you come to the city after a while. I'm going to get Uncle Dan to give you a job in the shops, and you can get out of these hills and be someone like we'uns. The tone was unmistakable patronizing, and the big mountaineer lifted his head proudly and turned towards the speaker, but before he could reply, Sammy broke in eagerly. Oh, but that would sure be fine, wouldn't it, Matt? I know you'd do something big if you only had the chance. I just know you would. You're so kind of big in every kind of way. She laughed. It's a plumb shame for you to be buried alive in these hills. There was nothing to be said after this, until coming to the top of the ridge they stopped. From here, Ollie and Sammy would take the old trail to the girl's home, and then, with his eyes on the vast sweep of the forest-clad hills and valleys over which the blue haze was fast changing to purple in the level rays of the sun, young Matt spoke. I don't guess you'd better figure on that. Some folks are made to live in the city and some aren't. I reckon I was built to live in these hills. I don't somehow feel like I could get along without 'em. And besides, I'd always be a knocking against something around there. He laughed grimly and stretched out his huge arms. I gotta have room. Then there's those folks yonder. He turned his head towards the log house just showing beyond the trees. You know how it is, me being the only one left and Dad getting old. No, I don't guess you need to count on me being more than I am. Then suddenly he wheeled about and turned from one face to the other, and then with a faint hint of defiance in his voice as he finished, I got an idea, too, that the backwoods needs men same as the cities. I don't see how there ever could be a city even if it wasn't for the men who cleared the brush. Somebody's got to lick Wash Gibbs some day, or there just naturally won't be no decent living in the neighborhood ever. He held up his big hand to the man on the horse. Goodbye, and good luck to you, Ollie. The horses turned down the old trail, and with their riders they passed from sight. That night, Sammy Lane said farewell to her lover, and, with many promises for the future, Ollie rode away to his cabin home, to leave the next morning for that world that lies so far away from the world of young Matt and his friends, the world that is so easy to get into after all, and so impossible to get out of ever. End of chapter 11.